Well, the two things that hit you the hardest, one is photographs, and the other is music. The thing to me is so great about this picture, if I may, what it always said to me was, I still am enamored and sort of in love with the city.
He was in love with the city.
You know? That's what it always...
So during his immigration case, they tried to throw him out of America. And he said how much he enjoyed it being in New York. He actually, at one point, said, couldn't you just throw me out of Ohio? No offense, Ohio, but can I stay in New York? You know? When he passed away, they asked for a picture to put in the memorial. They had 10 minutes of silence in Central Park. And they asked me for a picture, and I asked if he wanted to see a few, and they said, no, you knew the guy, you'll pick a good one. And at the time, Yoko had just put out a statement that, you know, not to blame New York. It wasn't that New York was dangerous, that the person who came to kill him came from around the other side of the world. And I tend to think that John died in New York because he lived in New York. You know, he died going home. And so that's why I kind of picked this picture, because, you know, he was proud to be in New York. He said that if he lived in the time of the Romans, he'd live in Rome. But he lived in the 70s, and so he lived in New York because he felt that was the center of the art world.
I've had the rare opportunity to meet many amazing photographers who move through the different landscapes to create powerful images. I'm always inspired by how these images transform the way we see people and understand the world. A great photograph needs no explanation, but on Capture, these incredible people tell the story of creating their most memorable images. I'm Mark Seliger, and this is Capture.
Hey, I'm Mark Seliger. Welcome to Capture. I'm here with Kevin Bacon, the American award-winning actor and director and photographer, and also musician, and Bob Gruen, the legendary photographer. And both of you, thank you for joining me today. Kevin, you know, since you're our outside-the-box photographers, we like to say.
For sure.
But, you know, I have to say, I had not seen your work, and it's great. I was trying to figure out, is it about film? Is it about his music? Is it about travel? You perform with your brother.
Right.
And the Bacon Brothers.
Bacon Brothers, yeah.
And you were like the, you know, the historian of the band, right? I mean,
well, first off, let me just say, to even be talking about my photographs in the presence of you guys is humbling, to say the least. It's a little bit like, you know, excuse me, Miss Streep, can I do a monologue for you? You know?
One of the things about Kevin's work, which is fascinating, is you've turned your camera back on the people that are taking your picture.
Yeah.
Which is, what is the shoot back about?
The shoot back is, you know, when you get into a situation and somebody's taking a picture, which frankly, as great as it is and as much as I appreciate it, sometimes it can get a little irritating. So my way, in a way, of sort of trying to deal with this is to actually stop and take out my phone and just take pictures of the people taking pictures. And you'd be surprised how people are really shocked by that. I mean, they really are oftentimes very uncomfortable. And you'll see pictures where I say, okay, now you all pick up your cameras and take a picture of me, and I'm gonna take a picture of you. It's called a shoot back. And a lot of people are like really kind of thrown by it.
This is what a shoot back looks like. You know, I think there's a book in there for you. Would you ever consider that?
I would. I mean, I've taken quite a few of them. At one point, there was some discussion about it being sort of like an online thing that continues. A lot of people really respond to it. A lot of people were saying, oh my God, I wish I could get a shoot back. I wish I could get a shoot back. I hope I run into him with my camera.
Bob's legendary journey through, you know, working with, you know, musicians and going on the road and being caught in the moment of rock and roll, right? You were living both sides, but you were living it from the side of an observer.
I started as a kid taking pictures when I was 8 years old. I was the family photographer. But then I got into the rock and roll, living with a rock and roll band. So traveling with a band later wasn't much of a stretch because I enjoyed living with musicians and going to the shows and that whole lifestyle, being up all night, sleeping all day. You know.
Did you play music too?
I was in the folk music. Like in the early 60s when that came out, I was in the Hootenanny Club and stuff. But then when the Beatles came out, everybody started playing notes. And it got a little complicated. And I was better at taking pictures, and so the record company liked my pictures, and I started getting hired for other things.
Do you remember your first big, like, memorable moment?
Well, I think the Tina Turner picture that really started everything for me, that really captured all the excitement of Tina in one shot.
That was a multiple exposure.
It's actually, no, it's not a multiple exposure. It's one exposure. There's a 1 second, but there was a strobe light flashing that caught these multiple images of Tina. And I remember it was the end of the show. She goes off stage with a strobe light, and I had a few frames left. And I thought, well, I wonder what'll happen if I leave it open for a second and get a few of these flashes. Wow. And what's interesting is I had no idea where to focus the camera because it was just all moving. I had no idea what exposure it would be, or when the timing would be. And a couple of the other shots I took are, you know, all over the place, the images. But this one, it just came out just right. And it changed my life. Because a couple of days later, I went with my friends to see another Ike and Tina show, and I brought the pictures to show my friends. And my friend happened to see Ike Turner walking behind us, you know, from one dressing room to another. She literally pushed me in front of Ike and said, show Ike the pictures. And he stopped, he said, what pictures? And he liked them, and he said, I gotta show these to Tina. And a minute later, I was in the dressing room, and Tina was liking the pictures. And that's the first band I started traveling with.
When you're traveling with a band, a lot of times I find, you know, you kind of think you're gonna go someplace and really experience it. But like this picture this is in Las Vegas.
This is like the camera on the shelf or something?
Yeah,
on a timer?
Yeah, on a timer.
I really like it a lot.
Yeah, we took it with a timer. The amount of times that I actually really want to leave the hotel room and go and walk around and deal with, you know, I use that as a time to just absolutely do as little as possible. And I have no problem with it. I like being alone.
Most people have a problem with it, but you turn it into, you know, your art.
Yeah, I mean, and this is, you know, that photograph is, to me, you know, it's just the light in Vegas is always that kind of, you know, just
right.
blowing
I was
you
looking
away.
at such a bright spot from such a dark spot, you know, where it's calm and, you know, it's kind of like being in a cave where you're safe, but you're looking out into this bright world out there.
Do you do self-portraits?
Often, yeah. If nobody else is around to take my picture, I'll do it.
Hey, I'm Mark Seliger, the host of Capture, and I'm in my studio with Bob Gruen and Kevin Bacon talking about the stories behind the images. To see more parts of the episodes, click one of the buttons below and make sure you don't miss any of our new episodes of Capture. All you need to do is hit the subscribe button. It's only on reserve, and it's only on YouTube.